When life feels out of control, is there anything we can do to regain our balance? Are we better off turning to reason or prayer? What does the data say? Today, we're going to be looking at a life issue that many of us have faced, but few have the courage to discuss, looking at it through the lens of Stoicism and Christian faith. I'm the host. This is a channel that explores the intersection of faith and reason. Each week, we look at a life issue through the lens of different faith traditions and philosophical worldviews to see what wisdom they have to offer. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. So today we're asking, when life feels out of control, is there anything we can do to regain our balance? Are we better off turning to reason or prayer? Let's begin with a brief overview of our two schools of thought. The first one is Stoicism. For the Stoics, life is fundamentally rational. The key to living well is to understand and live in harmony with the rational order of the cosmos. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. The goal is to live a life of virtue and wisdom in accordance with nature, embracing the things we cannot change and focusing our energy on the things we can. Some of the key figures here are Zeno, Epicurus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Musonius Rufus. Now for Christian faith, life is also fundamentally rational. But there's an important twist. Christians believe that humanity has been alienated from God by our sinfulness, which has disrupted the rational order of the cosmos. But God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So while Christians affirm the importance of reason, they also believe that faith and reason are complementary, and faith is necessary for salvation. Key figures include Jesus Christ, Paul, Augustine, Aquinas, and many others. So let's see how each school answers our life issue when life feels out of control. For the Stoics, life is fundamentally good and worth living, even when things feel out of control. Marcus Aurelius writes, "When you rise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." In Meditations, he writes, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." So Stoicism teaches us that when life feels out of control, we can regain our balance by focusing on the things we can control, namely, our thoughts and actions. Seneca writes, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The Stoics recognize that our minds have the power to magnify our problems and make them seem much bigger than they are. They teach us to focus on the present moment and to accept whatever comes our way with serenity and dignity. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So the Stoics would encourage us to face our problems head-on and to find ways to turn them into opportunities for growth and self-improvement. This is the essence of their "turn the situation into an opportunity" teaching. They believe that everything that happens to us has a purpose, and that we can discover that purpose if we are willing to look for it. Epictetus writes, "It is not things that upset us, it is our opinions about those things." This quote highlights another key aspect of Stoic philosophy, namely that our judgments and interpretations of events are what truly cause our suffering, not the events themselves. By controlling our thoughts and focusing on the positive aspects of any situation, we can regain our inner peace and balance. Now, what are the strengths of this viewpoint? Well, the Stoic perspective has several strengths. First, it is empowering. It gives us a sense of agency in a chaotic world. It teaches us that we are not helpless victims of circumstance and that we can make a difference in our lives and in the world around us. Second, it is practical. Stoic principles can be applied immediately to any situation, no matter how difficult. They provide a clear roadmap for how to live a virtuous and fulfilling life. Third, it is universal. Stoicism is a philosophy that anyone can follow, regardless of their background, beliefs, or circumstances. Its teachings are timeless, and its wisdom can be applied to every facet of human existence. Now, despite these strengths, the Stoic viewpoint also has some limitations. First, it can be overly individualistic. It tends to focus on personal growth and self-improvement rather than on social and political issues. Second, it can be seen as cold and unemotional. The Stoics advocate for a certain detachment from worldly concerns, which can be misinterpreted as a lack of empathy or compassion. And third, it has a blind spot when it comes to spiritual matters. While the Stoics recognized the importance of living in harmony with nature, they did not have a clear understanding of the spiritual dimension of human existence. Now, for Christian faith, when life feels out of control, the answer is prayer. Prayer is the key to regaining our balance and restoring order to our lives. Prayer is communication with God, and God is the ultimate source of wisdom, strength, and guidance. As Jesus taught us in the Lord's Prayer, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." This teaching reminds us that God is in control of all things and that we should align our wills with His will. Prayer allows us to express our needs, our fears, our hopes, and our dreams to God. It is a way for us to receive comfort, strength, and direction from Him. Paul the Apostle writes in Philippians 4, "Therefore I tell you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them." This passage teaches us that prayer is not just about asking, but also about believing that God will answer our prayers. When we pray, we must have faith that God is listening and that He will provide for our needs. Christian Science would also point to passages like James 5:19, "Confess your faults to one another and pray for one another." That is prayer that can build up the body, that prayer for which we ask the blessing of God. This passage shows that prayer is not just a solitary practice, but it is also a communal one. We are called to confess our faults to one another and to pray for one another. Prayer is a powerful tool for healing and restoration, both in our own lives and in the lives of those around us. Now, the strengths of this viewpoint are that it is deeply comforting, and it provides a strong sense of community and support. It also offers a clear path to forgiveness and reconciliation. Now, the weaknesses of this viewpoint are that it can lead to a form of escapism. Prayer is not a substitute for taking action in the real world, and it can also lead to a sense of dependence on divine intervention rather than on our own efforts. Additionally, it can be a stumbling block for those who do not share the same religious beliefs. Now, what are some of the similarities between the two viewpoints? Both Stoicism and Christian faith emphasize the importance of inner peace and balance. They both offer practical advice for dealing with the challenges of life, and they both call for a virtuous and compassionate way of life. Now, what are some of the differences between the two viewpoints? Well, for Stoicism, the emphasis is on self-reliance and personal growth. For Christian faith, the emphasis is on dependence on God and the importance of community. Stoicism is more silent on issues of sin and redemption, whereas Christian faith is deeply concerned with these issues. And finally, Stoicism is more accepting of different belief systems, whereas Christian faith makes exclusive claims about salvation. In conclusion, when life feels out of control, both Stoicism and Christian faith offer valuable lessons for us. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to find opportunities in every situation. Christian faith teaches us to turn to God in prayer and to rely on His wisdom and guidance. Ultimately, it is up to each individual to decide which path to follow. But by exploring the wisdom of different traditions, we can deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. What are your thoughts on this? How do you find balance in your life when things feel out of control? Is prayer enough, or does life require more? Or is reason enough, or does it need something more? What can we learn from the data on what works best? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.